In 2016, I was fresh into making music videos and I really felt like I was doing it, working with artists, making stuff, and really putting my foot in the door. But a friend asked me a very simple question that broke my brain. Who inspires you and who are your favorite directors? And I completely froze, like total silence. Inside my brain, I was panicking. Like, I knew what I liked. I loved Star Wars, I loved Blade Runner, Fifth Element, I loved Superbad and Scorsese films, etc. But I didn't know why I liked it. I was standing there feeling like a complete fraud. I didn't know why I liked what I liked. Like, I couldn't really break it down. And suddenly it hit me. I'm in a field where I'm making art for artists, and I don't really know what my own taste is. A common misconception is that we think that taste is something that you're innately born with, like it's a compass that leads you in life. Either you're pointed towards cool or you're not. But the truth is, and I had to learn the hard way, that taste is just like a muscle. And in 2016, my muscle left the chat. Heck, my muscle didn't even exist at that point. The embarrassment ran so deep that for 2 years, I didn't watch any new music videos. 2 years, 0 new music videos. And it wasn't because the work out there was bad, it was the exact opposite. I was terrified. I was so insecure about the foundation of my own taste, but I was scared to plagiarize. I thought to myself, if I watch this new director's video, it's gonna be stuck in my subconscious and I might reference it on set next month. I isolated my creative brain because I couldn't trust my brain to be original. What I didn't realize back then was the trap that I fell into, which is one-to-one curation. When you're a filmmaker or editor that only watches current, new pieces of art or content, you get stuck in an echo chamber. You're trying to cook a 5-star meal of the exact same dish of the person that sat next to you just made. And to be real, it makes you paranoid, it limits your perspective, and it guarantees that your work will be generic. To break out of that loop, I had to look back at an entirely different time of my life. Years earlier, when I was playing basketball, I was obsessed. I could tell you what players I loved, whose footwork I was studying, and why. I spent hours and hours breaking down gameplay tape, analyzing the mechanics of a crossover or a defensive stance. In basketball, you never hide from the film room out of fear you'll copy someone. You actively study the greats, so you can dissect their mechanics, run the drills, and make the moves your own. But with filmmaking, I hadn't done the film study. I was just consuming it passively for entertainment, all running away from it out of fear. I was trying to mimic what looked cool without studying the structural engineering behind the frame. I realized I had to stop hiding from other people's work and start studying it like game tape. I had to learn how to actively watch. I started with the movies I already loved, but this time, I didn't stop when the credits rolled. I went deep into the behind the scenes features, I watched interviews with directors, and every time a director mentioned their inspiration, I wrote it down. If Ridley Scott talked about a specific old film or a classical painting that inspired a scene in Blade Runner, I went and found it. Then I looked up who inspired that artist and I watched their work. I was tracing the lineage of visual storytelling. Instead of looking at the music videos that was next to me, I started looking outside the medium, studying production design, lighting breakdowns, cinematography history, and classic cinema. And if you're terrified of copying, here's the trick. Imitate for research, not for the public. I started taking references and tried to rebuild it privately in my own time, not to post it, just to understand the mechanics behind it. Once you make a copy behind doors, you understand what makes it work. You start to realize nobody owns a wide shot, no one owns a specific camera move or a lighting setup. What they own is the context. It didn't happen overnight. It took a few years of consistent intentional conditioning to undo the 2-year blackout, but eventually the muscle memory kicked in. I stopped seeing a cool shot and I started understanding why the camera moved that way, why that specific lens was chosen, and how the lighting built the mood. I stopped worrying about accidentally copying someone because now I had the vocab to reference them instead. Developing taste isn't about isolating yourself so that you stay pure. It's about building a massive internal archive from sources far outside your own industry. You consume deeply, you trace the roots, you study the tape, you filter it all through your own perspective until it becomes your voice. All right, let me know in the comments below one piece of media or art outside of video that completely changed the way you visually look at things.